Obviously, tomorrow is January 26th, right? The 1 year anniversary of Kobe Bryant's passing.
Yes, yes.
And I was just wondering, we kind of obviously reflected on Kobe already in previous episodes, but it'd be interesting to know where you guys were when you found out the news. Obviously, we all took the news very poorly, but I was just finding myself reflecting on that the other day. And so I'm not sure if you guys remember, Pete, where you were possibly.
Oh, 100%. I was sitting in my apartment next to this guy, JK, just got back from Costco, sitting down, and he tells me, Yo, you got to sit down for a second. I was like, What? Dude, I remember scrambling, trying to figure out everything.
The
And,
internet like broke, didn't it? Like I remember trying to get on Twitter and it just wouldn't work.
and ironically, I will remember that day because it sucks, but I also remember that was my first podcast that I ever did that day on Culture Cross.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yep.
yeah,
Mm.
sweet.
Yeah, like Pete said, it was just like one of those days. Like I don't know why. Like you can even ask Pete. Like I don't normally just like at that time I wasn't normally like just randomly be like, "Yo, Pete, like I'm gonna come over and hang out." Like it was like one of those random. Like now I do it like every single week, like, like without hesitation. But like it was one of those days. I was just like, "Yo, Pete, like I'm gonna come over today," and like went over there and like we're just hanging out and like we hit up Gogia. Gogia is doing his cultural crossover and literally like I saw like one of our group chats like it popped up and I'm like, whoa, this can't be real, like this has to be fake. And like I mentioned it to Pete and he's like, what the fuck, like no, like that's bullshit, right? And we keep watching all these like news things, like we switch over to CNN, we switch over to ESPN, like, and like all of a sudden Gogia and like Malad, they stop like recording cultural crossover and they come over and it's like one of those things like we all just kind of like we sat down, we were talking about it, we're like, dude, like what the hell is going on, like this is unbelievable.
I
And
think the crazy piece of it was one, it was nostalgic because the night before LeBron James just passed Kobe Bryant in scoring all time. And he kind of tweeted and he, sent that Instagram post and he was passing the torch basically. And then less than 24 hours the next morning, this happens. And I think probably maybe for you too, Arash, for me, like I just trying to run it through my brain. I'm like, I don't process this. I don't understand this. This is literally my whole life. I've watched this guy. This is my greatest fan. And what felt like maybe you're sitting there thinking for 10, 20 minutes, you're like, oh shit, I've been sitting here for like hours, honestly, just contemplating, watching whatever's going down. It was crazy though.
Yeah, definitely an out of body experience. For multiple, it was a Sunday. I was at work, and I remember like thinking I was gonna have this productive day and just knock out some work, and it completely went way out of what I was expecting. But yeah, man, it's crazy. It's in a year because it feels like it was maybe 6 months ago, maybe 7 months ago. It doesn't feel like it was a whole year ago. A lot has changed, obviously, in the world since then. Gogia, you obviously were part of that culture crossover podcast. Were you guys already recording when you found out?
We were just started. I remember this, and maybe I have it saved. Me and Milan were just starting to record, and I saw this on my phone, like TMZ alert, and I was like, "Yo, what the fuck?" Like, and then we just stopped recording at that point. We're like, "No, like this is some bullshit internet thing where this isn't funny." It's like one of those things where like
I thought the same thing.
it's like when Eddie Murphy or like it's like they reveal that Eddie Murphy dies every like 6 months, like Eddie Murphy's dead, and then it's like what the fuck, right? And
Like that was like Lil Wayne was
right, it's this bullshit. And I was like, oh my god, they're doing this shit again. I actually have to look because this is the first time you've seen this. And then I was like, when we figured out it was kind of real, is when we hit up Pete and we're like, oh shit, and we literally sat at Pete's apartment for like 6 hours, and then like we were like, oh, we got to do something for Culture Crossover. I mean, nothing else matters that we were going to talk about, so we did
Mm.
this. So it was really weird. And it's like it's sad because this happens in different realms over and over again. And what this taught me, as it taught me when Nipsey Hussle died, what it didn't teach me when Sean Taylor died because I was way too young, is that you got to appreciate it while it's happening. Appreciate the greatness in front of you. That's why I hate now, especially now that after, this is not a shot at JK, why people still hate LeBron, right? Appreciate it while it's happening because this can happen. This is a thing that happens. So I mean, that's a lesson learned for me. Just appreciate it. I'm trying not to hate on things anymore. I'm trying not to hate Tom Brady in 2 weeks. I'm trying. I'm going to, but I'm trying.
I hate
But
Tom Brady.
I do too. It's really fucking do. I
I
didn't learn
wish no
shit.
ill will. Kobe Bryant actually, he's the one that made me change my mentality a lot towards
Mentality,
both. He changed my Mamba mentality, but he actually, from that, like, it kind of made me change my philosophy on sports, on hating players. All right, like, I don't know if Gogia picked up on it, but my tune towards LeBron
He
changed.
softened. He
I
absolutely
softened
softened.
a lot.
He softened
I
a lot.
a lot. Same thing happened with Tom Brady. I mean, like, I still root against both of them, like, no doubt about it. Like, that's me.
That's sports.
But
That's sports.
That's sports. But just the overall image that I have of like these great superstars, it makes me it definitely makes me realize, like, damn, like, this is an era that we get to like see all this stuff happen right in front of our eyes. When's the next time could this pop? We are living in the greatest era of sports, in my opinion. Like, you have like 4 or 5 best QBs to ever play the game play in front of our eyes, right?
Yep.
Like, and when's the next time people are going to see this? Like, maybe down the road, like, it's going to be the same thing because the game changes. So like, where it's super pass friendly or whatever, again, even more on top of what it is. But as the years go on, the numbers are always going to go up, and we're going to keep seeing great players. But I don't know if we're going to see great players accumulate like how it did in front of our eyes.
Mm-hmm.
It also sucked because Kobe is part of the era of basketball like we grew up on, right? And it just ended. That era just like ended when I guess Tim Duncan retired, right? Because he was the last one in that era, right, to retire. So you think that now you're going to see that second career from guys, right? Like you're seeing those guys now, like Tracy McGrady's on the jump, like, right? You see Gilbert with his own podcast, right? AI pops up everywhere. Kobe was just going to start doing that because he had just like retired a couple years ago, right? So you don't get that. So that kind of like sucks because they're just as like they have insight to the game that no one else does, but they were also like our favorite players growing up. So it's like you got that second career to be a fan of them for, and we're not getting that. So that's kind of upsetting. Best way to put it.
Carter.
Dude, and to be honest,
What'd
it's
you
not
say?
even just Kobe, dude. Like there was like Gianna lost her life too,
Yeah.
right? And she could have been that one player. Like, I'll be honest, just the fact that she's Kobe's daughter, if she did make it to the WNBA,
Oh yeah.
you know, people were going to tune in just to kind of check her play,
Yep.
right? Like, it's an I've heard so many people actually say that, and you know, like, that is someone that could have possibly had the potential to be in that league. Even though she's so young, we don't know what could have happened in her career or whatever. But that is something that could have possibly happened. We don't know.
So to tune on that, right? I get what you're saying, but I don't think it's only just how her career could have been or whatever. What they were trying to accomplish and what he was big on, and if you see a lot of stuff he did is on like the women's rights and bridging that gap between the NBA, WNBA, and I mean, there's a reason why he had the Mambacita and the Mamba camps and everything he was doing for all the girls. College, you know, he would take his daughter to go see the college players, and he's really trying to bridge that gap. And with the celebrity status that she has and everything she was doing, she could have made it through college to the NBA. I think it would have been that one push forward that would have made that gap bridge, you know, better. Right now, you see everyone doing that, but I think that's the biggest thing. Is I wanted to see what Kobe wanted to do post NBA. I got to witness for 20 years what he did in the NBA. It was awesome. I would love to see more, but I was fulfilled. Right, we got to see everything we needed to see from that, and now we wanted to see what's that next thing he was going to do. I believe he was going to do some greater good for the world. Right, he was going to do a lot of great things beyond basketball and all that. So that's the biggest missing thing. What could he have done? And he was so influential that he could have drove home a lot of things that we struggle with a lot of, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
World has not been the same since.
No, it won't be. And he's not the first, tragic death to happen. He's far from the last, but it definitely is fun to reflect and remember. And hopefully, inspire us to do things in life where people remember us, because it wasn't like Kobe was always looked at as a hero and an idol and this beloved person, right? Like, he had the 2003 rape allegations. Even before any legal troubles, he obviously was looked on as this selfish, arrogant player throughout his young early career. and just look at how the public perception has changed over time. And that's only credit to him and him going out of his way to do right things, not to get credit for them, but to just make an impact on the world. And so we each have that power, even though we're not public figures, even though we're not these famous people living in Hollywood in our own lives, in our own circles. If it matters to us, we can have an impact, and hopefully the day we pass, people will remember us in similar lights. But yeah, I thought it'd be fun to just chat about Kobe on his 1 year anniversary. I think it's a day we'll probably, as sports fans, always see coming
Do you
around the
guys remember that
corner.
was actually our first episode that we did was right after this because we were
Mm.
planning the pre Super Bowl thing, and this was actually like how we started this whole podcast. So
We haven't filed for bankruptcy yet.
not all of us haven't. Some of us have.